we've been attacked throughout the last few weeks on the whole Khabib thing, and me and Anthony have come out and said it, and we've had people actually call the show and argue with us, saying that they were a part of the same gym as Khabib, saying that he's their brother, and you can come to our gym and train and actually come and interview some of the fighters, and we all know it was a bunch of crap. But nevertheless, what are your thoughts with the whole Khabib-Ferguson thing? Do you think Ferguson got the bad handle on this, or do you think Khabib walked away from this fight? Because obviously in the last 5 fights that they were supposed to have, 3 out of the 5, Khabib dropped out because of dehydration 2 weeks before the fight and 2 of the fights. And then supposedly he heard, I think he broke something. He broke his rib or something. He fractured his rib. And what are your thoughts with this? Because I really believe that Ferguson got the bad stick going into the fight with Justin Gaethje.
I agree with that 100%. And, nobody can answer for Khabib because I don't know. I don't know what the truth is. I don't know what what he hurt himself. I mean, dehydrating that close, when you're at that level of a professional, you really, dehydration happens because you cut weight too quick, too soon before the fight. You've got a 6-week fight camp. Do it smartly, do it safely. There's a lot of money on the line. There's a lot going on. So to come up with dehydration and stuff like that right that close to the fight date, I have a real problem with it. I have a real problem with the ISKA. Now, if you're scheduled to fight and your opponent just doesn't make weight, or he doesn't have his blood working by fight time, whatever that situation is, and the other guy's done all the right things, and I'm in agreement with the New York State Athletic Commission. They agree with me. I've suspended fighters. I mean, it's just not fair, and a lot of camps have commented to me. A lot of coaches have said, finally, somebody's doing something about it, and I put it right on the MMA report on MMA.com, MMA.tv, that fight is suspended. For basically, as far as I'm concerned, it's unsportsmanlike. And Khabib, come on, too many missed opportunities that I think are very questionable.
Well, now they're pushing the fight back further. The Gaethje-Khabib fight, they're pushing back. I think now it's all the way to September. Obviously, there's still stuff going on with his father. There was the Ramadan thing, and such.
We understand that.
That we understand. He's going through a hard time with his father, of course, and such. And now they're pushing it back. Now, my biggest thing with a lot of these, and we also brought this up when we were talking about Khabib, Ferguson, and such. Tom, what do you think about the idea that they're doing the whole interim thing way too much? Don't you think, just like in boxing, because we've both agreed on boxing as well, there's a certain amount of time that you have to defend your title or it gets vacated. Now, is it really the fact, because they talk about people holding up the divisions and stuff. They talked about Stipe holding up the divisions, which I really don't see anything different between what Stipe did and what Khabib's doing. He's holding up the division. Khabib's definitely holding up the division. Why? Because you've had more interim title fights than an actual championship fight for the real, quote-unquote, real belt. Do you really think it's the whole idea of the interim tag that they're doing with this stuff? Does it seem like it's watering down the division? It kind of, devalues the belt and such?
I don't think it devalues the belt. I do understand the interim titles.
Do you think it's being used too much?
Because, but I understand it because you want to bring more fighters up. You want to test the water. You want to see who deserves the shot at the title, and that's a great way to really get fighters.
But are
you there?
Yeah,
no, we're here. We're here. We're listening
because
to you.
As
we thought you were going to finish up.
Because with the same thing, and this is what I was going to bring up.
I was watching you online. Didn't I see Anthony talking? And I'm just wondering.
Oh,
there's a delay.
There's a 10-second delay.
That's why when you're hearing me and then you're watching me, it looks like Kung Fu Theater.
Yeah, it's Kung Fu Theater.
Well, it looks like we're being dubbed.
Oh, well, that's true. That is true.
Do you remember Kung Fu Theater?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember did they have it back then on Saturday mornings after the cartoons?
Yes.
You remember everybody flying around?
Remember Romper Room? Remember Romper Room?
No, I didn't watch Romper Room.
You never watched Romper Room?
No, I was an electric company guy.
But I do agree with you, Errol. I think, if enough time goes by, that title's up for grabs. If somebody
did you hear
doesn't
that?
defend their title within the year, then they vacate it.
Well,
simple as that.
well, that's
a legitimate reason.
That's great that you agree with somebody and you agree with me.
It's great that you agreed with him, even though it was my point. So, of course he wants to take credit. He wants to take credit because he'll take it any way he can right now. I'm sorry.
Well, what bothers me right now when I watch mixed martial arts isn't the fact that the product isn't somewhat good. I mean, you're watching some of the young fighters. We're going to have 2 of them on 2 weeks from now on the 26th. They're fighters that have fought very, very well in their last 2 or 3 fights, and they're moving up in the rankings, which is great. And I love what I see with some of the young fighters. But when you have these superstars, and you got Jon Jones and Conor McGregor, the biggest superstars right now in mixed martial arts history, and these guys outside the octagon are not only causing trouble for their brand, or really the UFC brand, they're making a complete mockery of what mixed martial arts is. And Conor McGregor over there in Ireland with the mafia and in the stuff that he has said, how many times has he retired? This is what is the 2nd or 3rd time he's retired. And a lot of people say, and you heard what Joe Rogan said. Joe Rogan said, "Oh, don't worry, he's not retiring. He's not going anywhere."
He's not.
So, but nevertheless, he's doing it. And he wants to be the center of attention because he wants to sue.
Nate Diaz did it.
He wants to sell his stupid damn whiskey. That's
Nate
what he
Diaz
wants to
did
do.
it.
Nate Diaz isn't trying to sell anything.
It doesn't matter. But he threatened to retire.
Yeah, and
how many times have you said? You know what I mean? I'm out. And all that.
Twice.
Okay.
And I understand why he's doing it, because Dana White has not given Nate Diaz the respect that he deserves. Look at Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz has been out of mixed martial arts for what? 5 years, 6 years? His last fight. I don't even remember his last fight.
Are you talking about Nick or Nate? I'm
Nick,
talking about Nate.
I'm talking about the Diaz brothers. How he's completely pushed them around because they want to do what they want to do, which to me, they're a fan favorite. The fans love Nate Diaz. They love Nick Diaz. But Conor McGregor, when he does things outside the octagon, he doesn't get in trouble. When Nick and Nate do it, or they say whatever they feel, they get in trouble and they get held up, and their fights don't exist. It took 2 years for Nate Diaz to get another fight under his belt. Then he got 2 fights in a row and he lost against Masvidal. And where's Nate Diaz going? We don't even know. We don't even know if we're going to see Nate Diaz again.
We'll see him again.
When? 2 years from now?
I don't know. We'll see him again.
But that's Dana White. Dana White controls everything.
Corona.
And if he's Corona, give me a break, Corona. He doesn't give a crap about Corona. He's smoking weed every time. Every time you pop up, I follow him on Twitter. Every time you go to his Twitter, he's smoking something. It's not trust me, Nate doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about that. He wants to do in
his own personal time.
To me, it bothers me more than anything when I watch the sport that I actually love. And everybody keeps saying, Tom, you know what really bothers me more than anything is I bring in, guys like Anthony, who is a great partner, and he's an MMA guy. And everybody says, they look at me and they think because I talk boxing, and I love boxing. I love the sport of boxing. I follow it. I watch all the championship fights and whatever goes on Showtime, or it used to be HBO and now the pay-per-view. I watch boxing just as much as I watch the UFC. But I stick up for boxing and the promotion that they're putting out right now because I think the fighters are growing. I think there are better young fighters moving up in all the divisions that we haven't seen in a very long time. What is the UFC? For like 5 years, they were absolutely dominating. You go look at the pay-per-views, you go look at the numbers. It's not even close. Now you're looking at it, and I'm sorry to say, what does the UFC have that boxing, the WBA, the WBO don't have? And I'm sorry, you can't argue this. And Tom, you know this because I know you keep tabs on what's going on in boxing. You can't honestly tell me that the UFC and the mixed martial arts product is right now better than boxing.
You're a Tyson Fury fan?
No, I'm not a Tyson Fury fan. Not at all.
Really?
Not at all.
Pound for pound, he's one of the best. He's one of the best fighters that ever entered the sport.
Really?
I believe that hands down. I can watch him. You don't really. That is amazing.
I think Tyson Fury is a great boxer. I know there's a lot of stories coming out from his camp that his gloves weren't put on right or he was taking something. To me, there was no proof on that. There's nothing that has really, even though it's come out that they possibly found something in his system, nothing has really come out where they vacated his title. Okay, so obviously, Wilder is trying to find ways where he can get another title shot, or Fury will absolutely. I think Fury wants one more fight. He wants to fight Joshua, and after Joshua, I think he's going to retire. I really don't think Fury wants to fight anymore. He made his money. I think he made $30 million off that Wilder fight. I don't think he needs any more money. He likes this. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tom. You could speak. I'm sorry.
No. I was listening to you.
No,
I
think
agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah, I think that when you look at boxing and you look at the greats like Mike Tyson, when Tyson was dominating in the late '80s, early '90s, and you try to compare what mixed martial arts and really just combat sports is trying to produce now. And right now boxing. By the way, if people want to know when's the next upcoming fights. The fights are going to be, I think the next fight is July. I think it's July 17th. Upcoming fights over there in Vegas. I think it's one of our guys, one of the Long Island guys that are going to be on that card. But boxing is coming back. And Oscar De La Hoya, if you guys know anything that Oscar De La Hoya has said throughout social media is, Oscar De La Hoya wants to hold back the whole Canelo Alvarez Triple G fight until next year. It's not going to happen this year because Triple G was supposed to fight a fight before he was going to fight Canelo Alvarez again. And Canelo was up. He had an up-and-coming fight coming up very, very soon. Bobby Campbell says, you are not a Tyson Fury fan. Question. Bobby, it's not that I'm not a Tyson Fury fan. I'm just... when he fought Wilder, I want Wilder to win. That's just me. I met Wilder at the Sports Emmys. The guy was so gracious to me. He did an interview with me. Nice, really cool, non-controversial guy. And that's what I love about Wilder. Tyson Fury, as much as you want to say whatever you want to say, Tyson Fury has his demons. He did cocaine. Boxing didn't want it back. You know the story about Tyson Fury. No, boxing didn't want him back. They weren't even going to give him his license back. And then it took a while, and it took a lot of people to speak up for him to get him back into boxing. And yes, he's an undefeated heavyweight champion. He's a great fighter. He's the first person to beat Wilder. And I want to see him fight Joshua because I think he's a better fighter than Joshua. But again, I think this is the best heavyweight division we have seen in a very long time. I don't want to hear about the Klitschko's because the Klitschko's dominated the heavyweight division for almost 10 years. And I'll say this over and over again, and there's a lot of people that say that, boxing has not been the same. Ever since Fury came back and Wilder has dominated the division, and then you see Joshua, he lost the fight. He came back and completely dominated Garcia. This is the best we've seen boxing in a very long time. The heavyweight division, even the lightweight divisions, the 155 divisions, the 150, the 145 divisions. This is the best we've seen boxing in a very, very long time. We have up-and-coming fighters that I'm so excited to see and hopefully see the fight. Garcia, the kid that De La Hoya has right now. The kid is fantastic. He's a fantastic fighter. He wants to fight. What's his name again? Hanudo or whatever is that? Hadudo, whatever his name is. The guy that just retired. Just beat him on the card.
You're talking about Cerudo?
Cerudo, yes. Cerudo retired.
They're doing one of the circus fights?
Cerudo came out, and here's the story. I can't believe you couldn't even guess that until I mentioned.
I thought you were talking about somebody in boxing.
No, Cerudo came out a couple of weeks ago.
He said he wanted to fight Danny Garcia.
And he wants to fight, no, not Danny Garcia, the kid, the Garcia kid from the De La Hoya camp. No, it wasn't Mikey Garcia. I forget his name. He wanted to fight him, and they went back and forth on Twitter. And Cerudo reached out to Dana White. This is the story. He reached out to Dana White, and he told Dana White, get this done. I want to get into a boxing ring. I'm going to kick the hell out of this kid. Now, do I think Cerudo will beat this kid Garcia? No, I think this kid is an up-and-coming, big-time boxer.
Do you think that fight would happen?
I think it will happen.
I don't think it will. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because nobody cares about Cerudo. Cerudo's not a draw.
But he's an MMA fighter.
I understand that, but he's not a draw. He's not a draw at all. Dana White would honestly probably take a hit if he did that in terms of trying to invest as much money as he did with Conor with Mayweather, because just like some of those memes that you saw and such, when you saw the meme with McGregor and Dana White and Cerudo where he says, I retired, and he turned around and looked at him, and he looked at Dana White and said, see, nobody cares. Ceruto is not a ticket seller.